World War I, a cataclysm that engulfed Europe and beyond, was not a sudden eruption, but the culmination of long-simmering tensions. Historians often point to the acronym main militarism, alliances, imperialism and nationalism as the key underlying causes of this global conflict. These factors, intertwined and mutually reinforcing, created a tinderbox atmosphere where a single spark could ignite a conflagration. Militarism, the glorification of war and the military, permeated European society in the decades leading up to 1914. Military spending skyrocketed as nations engaged in a relentless arms race driven by technological advancements and a pervasive climate of suspicion. Germany's expansion of its navy, for example, challenged Britain's long-held naval dominance, fueling Anglo-German rivalry. Conscription, the compulsory enlistment of citizens into the armed forces, became increasingly common, creating vast standing armies and fostering a culture of militarism. Alliances, initially intended to deter aggression, paradoxically increased the risk of war. The complex web of alliances that entangled the great powers meant that a conflict between two nations could quickly escalate into a wider war. The Triple Alliance, formed in 1882 between Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy, was countered by the Triple Entente, a loose alliance between France, Russia and Great Britain, formalized in 1907. These alliances, while intended to maintain the balance of power, created a dangerous rigidity in the international system. Imperialism, the pursuit of overseas colonies and empires, fueled competition and rivalry among the European powers. The scramble for Africa in particular heightened tensions as nations jostled for control of valuable resources and strategic territories. Germany, a latecomer to the imperial game, sought a place in the sun, demanding colonies commensurate with its growing economic and military might. This ambition brought it into conflict with established colonial powers like Britain and France. Nationalism, a powerful force for unity and identity, also played a significant role in the outbreak of war. In the decades leading up to 1914, nationalism took on an increasingly aggressive and intolerant form, particularly in Germany and Austria-Hungary. Pan-Germanism, which advocated for the unification of all German-speaking peoples, and Pan-Slavism, a movement promoting the unity of Slavic peoples, inflamed tensions in the Balkans, a region already riven by ethnic and religious strife. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo, Bosnia, proved to be the spark that ignited the powder keg of European tensions. The assassination, carried out by Gavrilo Princip, a young Serbian nationalist associated with the Black Hand, a secret society committed to Serbian unification, sent shockwaves through Europe, setting in motion a chain of events that would culminate in World War. The Austro-Hungarian government, outraged by the assassination on its soil, saw an opportunity to crush Serbian nationalism and reassert its authority in the Balkans. Germany, bound by its alliance with Austria-Hungary, encouraged its ally to take a firm stance against Serbia, issuing the infamous blank check, a pledge of unconditional support. Serbia, fearful of Austro-Hungarian intentions, sought assistance from its protector Russia, which began mobilizing its troops in support of Serbia. Germany, viewing Russian mobilization as a threat to its own security, declared war on Russia on August 1, 1914. 2 days later, Germany declared war on France, Russia's ally, and invaded neutral Belgium to bypass France's formidable defences along the Franco-German border. Great Britain, bound by treaty to defend Belgium's neutrality, declared war on Germany on August 4, 1914. Within a week, the great powers of Europe were at war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, while the immediate trigger for war, was merely the catalyst that set in motion the underlying forces of militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. The summer of 1914 witnessed a continent consumed by war fever. Across Europe, young men, swept up in a tide of patriotic fervour, flocked to enlist. They marched off to war with enthusiasm, confident of a swift and glorious victory. Little did they know that they were embarking on a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality, one that would shatter the old order and leave millions dead.
Germany, adhering to the Schlieffen Plan, a military strategy devised years earlier, launched a lightning offensive through neutral Belgium, aiming to knock France out of the war before Russia could fully mobilize its forces. The plan called for a rapid advance through Belgium, encircling Paris and forcing a French surrender. However, the plan faltered in the face of fierce Belgian resistance and unexpected British intervention. The Battle of Marne, fought in September 1914, marked a turning point in the war. French and British forces, bolstered by reinforcements rushed from Paris in a desperate bid to halt the German advance, clashed with the exhausted and overextended German armies. The battle, a bloody and inconclusive affair, shattered Germany's hopes for a quick victory in the West. The war, initially envisioned as a short and decisive affair, settled into a bloody stalemate. Trench warfare became the defining feature of the Western Front. Soldiers dug extensive networks of trenches, stretching from the North Sea to the Swiss border. Between the opposing trenches lay no man's land, a deadly expanse of barbed wire, shell craters, and mud, where countless lives were lost in futile assaults. Strategies evolved to break the deadlock, including massive artillery bombardments, poison gas attacks, and the use of tanks. Yet, these often resulted in limited gains and heavy casualties. The impact on soldiers was devastating. They endured horrific conditions, facing constant shelling, disease, and the psychological toll of trench life. On the Eastern Front, Russia's vast armies, though poorly equipped and led, posed a formidable challenge to the Austro-Hungarian and German forces.
One of the pivotal moments leading to the end of the war was the 100 Days Offensive. Beginning in August 1918, the Allied forces launched a series of relentless attacks on the Western Front. Utilizing new tactics and technologies, such as coordinated artillery barrages and the effective use of tanks, the Allies broke through the German lines. The Germans, unable to withstand the onslaught, were pushed back steadily. The offensive demonstrated the futility of continued resistance and signaled the impending defeat of the Central Powers. Another critical factor was the internal turmoil within Germany itself. By late 1918, the German home front was in disarray. The British naval blockade had strangled the flow of essential supplies, leading to widespread hunger and discontent among the German population. Strikes and protests erupted across the country, and revolutionary fervour spread among soldiers and workers alike. The abdication of Kaiser Wilhelm II on November 9, 1918, marked the collapse of the German monarchy and the establishment of a republic. This political upheaval hastened Germany's decision to seek an armistice. The war officially ended on November 11, 1918, with the signing of the Armistice of Compiègne. The terms of the armistice were harsh, demanding the immediate cessation of hostilities, the withdrawal of German troops from occupied territories, and the surrender of significant quantities of military equipment. The armistice effectively ended the fighting, but the peace negotiations that followed would shape the post-war world and sow the seeds of future conflicts. Ultimately, the end of World War I was driven by a combination of military defeats, economic hardships, and political upheavals. The war, which had begun with such high hopes and patriotic fervour, concluded in a sombre realization of its immense human and material costs. It left a world profoundly changed, grappling with the aftermath of unprecedented destruction and loss. Pause 3S. The legacy of World War I is a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of total war and the enduring quest for lasting peace. In the aftermath of World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919, in the opulent Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. However, far from being a celebration of peace, the treaty became a symbol of resentment and humiliation for Germany. The treaty imposed severe terms on Germany, causing widespread anger and indignation among its people. One of the most contentious clauses was Article 231, infamously known as the War Guilt Clause. This article placed full responsibility for the war and its damages squarely on Germany's shoulders. Not only did this tarnish Germany's national pride, but it also served as the legal basis for demanding reparations. Additionally, the treaty mandated severe territorial losses. Germany was forced to cede territories such as Alsace-Lorraine to France, Eupen-Malmedy to Belgium, and significant parts of Prussia to the newly formed Poland. The loss of these territories not only reduced Germany's economic base, but also severed millions of ethnic Germans from their homeland, fueling nationalistic fervour and a sense of injustice. The Treaty of Versailles also led to the creation of the demilitarised Rhineland, a buffer zone meant to protect France from future German aggression. This restriction on German sovereignty was seen as an affront to national dignity and sovereignty. For many Germans, the Treaty of Versailles was not a peace settlement but a diktat, a dictated peace imposed upon them without negotiation or representation. The sense of betrayal and injustice fostered by the treaty contributed to the political and social instability of the